It was only about, give or about 3 years ago, that I heard an album. You hear some things every once in a while that put you a little bit of tilt, and it perks you up, and you say, "Wow, who is this person?" And it was difficult to find out immediately because not all albums are always loaded with information. The people who worked with this artist were very impressive. I remember Joe Sample and some of the other people from California. Well, in time he passed through town, visited on the station a couple of times. He has a new album out we've been featuring. So about 3 years later, the man's back in town again with his fourth LP. Michael Franks, welcome back to WMAL.
Thanks, Felix.
Now, you were in town for just one night.
Right.
Now, something happened that's a little unusual. I don't know if you know about it. Cellar Door is, I suppose, one of the best-known clubs in the country. They've had the lineup of talent they've had for the past years they've been open. But I haven't seen the sold-out sign posted so far in advance as it was this time for you. And I felt particularly pleased about it, and some of us here at WMAL who are fans of yours, to see that something sold out that fast. Is this kind of thing happening pretty much these days for you? Is the momentum increasing?
I think it is increasing somewhat. It seems this is the third week of a national tour behind Tiger in the Rain, and this is the first tour I've done where I've been headlining all the way, and I think that's a great leap forward too.
Mm-hmm.
It means I always get a sound check,
mm-hmm.
which sometimes you don't get if you're not headlining. But I've been playing some pretty big, for me, really big rooms, like 3,500.
Wow, that is
which
good.
is
Now,
really
what
large.
city would that be in?
Detroit.
Detroit. Now, what kind of a turnout do you get in Detroit? Say a room with 3,500 people.
Oh, we sold it out.
Sold it out.
Yeah.
Now, in as much as you haven't worked for audiences that many at one time, is this a new experience, working for that many at one time?
I think the largest gig I've had was the UC Berkeley Jazz Festival, which was 9,000.
Mm.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of people.
But I understand we're doing one. Pat Metheny's going to be coming on in front of us in Miami on Sunday for 20,000 people. So that's going to be the... I hope it's not windy. It's going to be outside, you know.
Wow. Because there's a certain... First of all, I like the lyric content of what you do. There's a quality about it that's interesting. It's interesting, and when someone sings, in this particular case it's you say, I understand, what's going on, and actually some of the things you listen 2 or 3 times, get a little extra something out of the lyric, which is the extra added attraction. But there is a delicateness about it that I would guess, like you say, if it's out in the open and there are 20,000 people, some of that might drift off on a zephyr or two that just might pass through.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't end up in Key Biscayne, But I'm sure the sound system will be good.
Yes. Well, I'm delighted to hear about these kinds of things. There are a number of people, for as long as I've been around, that I genuinely admire. Even though I just caught the last active part of you about more than a year ago, I ran quickly from work and got down to, you were again at the Cellar Door, and I saw the last little bit of what you've done. So I've never been able to sit down and see, say, an entire evening of songs and watch what's happened. Although what I've heard on record, I can put 2 and 2 together, and I'm quite sure I would not be disappointed at all. The thing I get a kick out of too are the as I've used the word when you were in the studio, some of the whimsy that seems to creep into a lot of the lyrics. This Sanpaku, what is Sanpaku itself?
Sanpaku is a condition when you look into your eyes, and if you see white under the iris of your eye or over the iris of your eye, you're considered to be Sanpaku, which means you've eaten too many processed foods and I think maybe juiced too much. It's a Japanese word, and I heard about it in a book that I read a few years ago, which was called You Are All Sanpaku. And it was written by this man named George Ashawa, who was sort of like the king of the macrobiotic movement. Ironically, he died of cancer, which is, unfortunate. But I never was into macrobiotics. I'm a vegetarian, but I never could do the macrobiotic thing, which is kind of boring when you starting out. I think you have to go cold turkey a couple of weeks on brown rice or something. And I could never give up eggplant parmesan. And
no, a lot of other things I'm afraid I have difficulty
yeah.
giving up too, Michael.
But anyway, that's where I heard the word, and it seemed so. It seemed like such an interesting word and sort of, memorable. But then when the tune was kind of ironical, because the the tune is very up and everything, and I think the word itself means full of poison, which is kind of a down idea. But in fact, one of the guys that worked on the album came up to me. I think it was Ben Riley. He didn't play on the tune, but he heard the tune in playback from like the session the day before, and he said, "Hey man, where is Sanpaku? Is that by Aruba?"
Oh my goodness! Yeah, another one of the islands he hadn't visited.
Yeah.
Well, I love the way it starts, though. I used to smoke the twine.
chewed the root until my brain was fried. I can't remember all the highs I tried. I always crashed no matter where I flew, sinking in the quicksand of Sanpaku, sinking in the quicksand of Sanpaku. Then a brown-eyed woman took me by the hand. She said, "Mercy me, you got to understand. This poison life will be the death of you." She led me from the jungles of Sanpaku. She led me from the jungles of Sanpaku. Sanpaku, 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 in the land of Sanpaku. Sanpaku, 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 in the land of Sanpaku.
Man singing, and the composer and so on is my guest here, I'm pleased to say, tonight here on WMAL. His name is Michael Franks. Michael, I'm aware of 4 albums so far, but there was a first one somewhere that some years ago. Is it run along the same general line of what you're doing now? Does it follow something, the same approach that you use? Was it that far ago?
Well, some of it does, but it was the end of a period when I've been writing tunes for other people, with other people in mind, and I worked on an album with Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. Came out on A&M, and Sonny and Brownie actually got me involved in this deal. They had made a little documentary film about them in the studio. This company, Brute, the same Brute of underarm spray.
Yes, yeah.
And I think Robert Klein and I were the only artists on the label, and then the label just folded. And I did this record, and so the company came and said, well, we'll take 2 of these, and 3 of these.
Oh, I see.
So it was a real mixed bag, and I ended up recording some tunes that, I had never anticipated doing myself. And but there were about 3 tunes on there that I'm still pretty happy with. I had Tom Scott on them, Max Bennett,
my
and
goodness, wow.
Tommy Tedesco played guitar, Larry Bunker played the drums. And, they turned out real nice.
Yes. Actually, I think in terms of 4 LPs, and I suppose in one sense I'm right, 4 LPs in which you are the feature performer all the way through. Prior to doing this, now you taught for a while in school, is that out in California, is that right, Mike?
Right.
Where did you teach?
UCLA.
For how for a long period of time?
Just for 2 years, part-time.
Now, what did you teach?
Well, I was teaching a class that I was sort of allowed free hand in. I had started it, I actually taught it for 3 years. The first year I taught it in the summer school, and it was about popular song in America, and I just sort of changed it a little bit each time. And the last time I taught it was about the early 60s, and where the music was sort of going, like the social conscious music, I think, was what I was focusing on.
Well, are you a native Californian?
Yeah.
In growing up, was there a desire on your part to be a performer, the kind of thing you're doing now, or is this kind of a follow-through, sort of, in a sense, semi-accidentally?
Well, I had a band when I was in high school, a little band, and then when I went to UCLA as an undergraduate, and while I was there, I was a freshman in '62. I matriculated, as they say, and I met a bass player there who was very hip and knew a lot of music. And until that time, I had heard, certain things. Like I had heard a lot of band music. My parents were into band music, but I hadn't really. I'd heard Kenton and Glenn Miller and that sort of thing. I hadn't heard Ellington and Basie too much. Oh. So this guy hit me to all that music, and right at that moment, I think. The Getz Gilberto album came out, and that really
so long about then, yes.
That really
62, 63, yeah.
knocked us out, and so this guy and I ended up, gigging in a little beer parlor, near the campus, and doing all these tunes,
the Brazilian tunes. Oh, my goodness!
Just on guitar and acoustic bass, and nobody was even interested. that wasn't the style of music that was even happening,
Yes.
But. That was really when I started to, consider being a performer. But when I got out of teaching, really the way I got out was I got a job working on a picture at Warner Brothers Pictures. And the guy that I was working for over there took me across the street to the record company. And I had already done in the interim this other album on the Oblivion label.
Yeah.
And... I went over and met the people at the record company, and they liked that album, and they said, hey, let's make records.
Let me play something else from this latest album, the one that's called Tiger in the Rain. We're going to be running out of time, so what I want to do is play just a portion of some things, because I want to talk a little bit with Michael about some of his Brazilian experience. Now, when you started in this, playing with the bass player, I don't know if at that time you gave any thought at all about being in Brazil, but we'll find out about that in just a little bit. Right now, another of the tunes out of the Tiger in the Rain.
Specialty is not eroticism. I guess your boyfriend's into masochism. Your body temperature is 10 below. When it's over, it's over, it's over, it's over. When it's over, it's over, it's over, it's over. Just me and myself is just a game you play. You do exactly what your parents say. If that's identity, then bird can't blow. When it's over, it's over, it's over, it's over. When it's over, it's over, it's over, it's over. All those books upon your shelf, did they teach you how to cure yourself? Not even Sigmund Freud can save you from the love you destroyed.
Now, this is just a sample of the kind of thing you'll find in the album Tiger in the Rain, and this is a pretty good sample of the sort of thing that Michael Franks does in his own unique style. Have any of your albums been released in Brazil so far, Michael?
No, I don't think so.
I would guess that if any one of them, it would seem to me, the people there, especially in and around Rio and São Paulo, with the kind of affection they have for words. First of all, they really dig words. And inflection in voice and so on. I would guess that an album of this sort would be extremely well received there, even though sometimes some of the radio stations, I think I'm back in the United States, will listen to the radio down there. I guess you got something of the same reaction, did you?
I thought it was crazy. I was hearing Rod Stewart and things like that.
I walked into a hotel room in Santos one day and turned on the little radio I had, and me and Julio down in the
Paul Simon.
Yeah. That's the first thing that came bang right out of the radio.
I know, it was really depressing. I jumped into a cab and this cabbie cranked this thing up, and I thought I was on Avenue of the Americas.
Yes. Now, Michael, you were just in town last night for one night, as we mentioned earlier, at the Cellar Door. You stayed over in town for a day. Was it, I don't want to sound nosy, was it a day of business or just sightseeing or fun or what?
We just had a day off, and our next gig is in Atlanta, and we just, not to say anything mean about Atlanta, but we just all thought it'd be nicer to stay here, and my wife comes on the road with me, and we're interested in art, so we went to the new wing of the National Gallery and checked out the Berenson exhibit. Thought it was really incredible.
Impressed?
Yeah.
Yes. I suppose one of the things that a mark of someone is beginning to leave an impression, or the impression is getting deeper, is when someone else begins to do your work. And I was playing a piece only last week, Mark Murphy, a birthday. I like to highlight birthdays of people. And so anyway, and I was looking through, and I'd heard him do this piece of yours, and I was surprised tonight in our little conversations here in between that you haven't heard it yet.
Not yet.
Well, would you like to hear somebody do one of your songs?
I'd love to.
Has anybody else done any?
Yeah, I've had. I've been lucky. I've had some pretty nice covers. I've had Dee Dee Bridgewater did Night Moves. See, Patti LaBelle, Melissa Manchester, Ringo Starr did Monkey See, Monkey Do. The Manhattan Transfer did Popsicle Toes.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I've had a few covers. The tunes haven't turned out to be singles, but they've been on albums that have made some waves.
And I guess some people, it's obvious people are listening. People within the business itself are listening and paying attention to what's being done. I felt sometimes that for a while that some of the groups and or artists who did things, it was almost incestuous, their own material endlessly, and no one ever touched it but them. But what I like about the kind of thing, the sort of thing that I can see someone say, hey, I'd like to do that tune of Michael Franks. Obviously Mark Murphy. So here we have our guest in the studio, Michael Franks, who's going to hear his own song done by, in this particular case, for the first time. Mark Murphy.
Don't be blue, you ain't got far to go. You see better when you're moving slow. Don't get locked into your sadness. Have a blood. Hey, strut your stuff. If you stumble, just be tongue in cheek. Love is always just like a hide and seek. And the Cleopatra So don't, just don't be blue. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da.
Well, we're going to run out of time here, and our guest is here. We can play this all the way through another night. You might just want to get a copy of that somewhere on the line to hear the rest of the song. It seems kind of unusual cutting on somebody's song with the man who wrote it sitting right here across from me. But I want to talk a little bit more with Michael Franks. Michael, you talked about when you began playing in some of the clubs in out California in the days of early days of the Brazilian sounds taking over. And yet, about a year or so, you were down in Brazil, and we talked about that. And you said last summer you spent some time with Jobim. You started to tell me that.
Right. Jobim spent the summer in New York, and he called me when he got into town and said, let's get together. And I said, great. And I came over, and he had rented a little Fender Rhodes and had it put up into his apartment. He stays in an apartment hotel on the east side, and like in the 80s next to the park. And he had this, sort of penthouse thing looking out over the park, and he had this Rhodes set up, and, like about 3 cases of Perrier on ice, and a lot of coffee and everything, and we started working, and I was, really, it was beyond my wildest dreams to actually work with him, and we worked on some tunes which he had just written, which he had never written any lyrics for in Portuguese, and that made it even easier for me. He had some very clear ideas of what he wanted the tunes to be about, what he felt they would be about, and even had some titles in mind. But we, wrote some things, and I think we got 3 things finished, and I'm still working on a couple of more. And I don't know what we're going to do with it. We were threatening, Jobim himself suggested doing an album together, which is also a great idea, wish fulfillment. But I don't really know what his situation is recording-wise. He did that album on Warner's. He and Klaus did that album, Urubu.
Yes.
And I think he was...
He did the Waters of March in that one, if I remember correct, didn't he?
No, I don't think he did.
No.
He did some tunes he had done before.
Alicia, I think it was in that one.
Oh, yeah, that's a beautiful song.
Yes.
And he did, Paulo, his son, Paulo Jobim, wrote a really beautiful waltz, which was on the flip side, which is all instrumental, as Matita Pere was. One side Klaus sort of went crazy on, and the other side was all Jobim doing the vocals and doing the tunes. And he's written some really incredible music recently that is so interesting. I wouldn't know how else to describe it except to say Blind Lemon Jobim. It's like blue samba type stuff, yes. And the way he plays the Rhodes, it's like a funky blue samba type feeling. And
well, it seems to me as if fate somehow or other was just dragging you back to New York. Are you still living in New York?
Yes.
Yes, that fate was dragging you back to New York from California. And these things are all falling in line somewhere. The fact that you would have been playing you were probably playing Jobim tunes out in California without ever really giving much thought to who Jobim was, because few people knew him in those early days. Gilberto had all the play.
Right.
But Jobim had written many of these tunes, and now here you guys are good friends and writing songs together and so on like that. And it looks to me like a perfect kind of combination. The thing you do and the thing that Jobim does. It just seems to me, from what I know about both of you, that it's a perfect kind of combination.
Well, it's incredible. I mean, it's like meeting one of your, idols.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be, if you were a baseball player, it would be like, playing with Lou Gehrig or something. It's just an incredible feeling.
Well, do you have the Jardin botanico? Let's have just a little portion of that, please.
a plane at Kennedy, fly to the southern hemisphere, where the sky is clear.
Another of the songs in this excellent collection, Tiger in the Rain, and my guest here for the past half hour has been Michael Franks. Michael, it's a delight to have you in town, and I'm particularly pleased and flattered that you've come by here on your done a day off in town and spent some time here on WMAL.
My pleasure, Felix.
Thank you, and the best of luck in the future. And I love listening to this and the others, but I'll certainly look forward to the combination of Franks and Jobim. It should be well worth listening to, and good luck on that project, too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And when you come back to town, please let us know and come by again.